everybody. Welcome back to the View from Here podcast with me, Rio Helmi. And today we have with us a legend, a star, the legendary midwife, Robin Lim, who sent me her CV. And it's so long, I just can't read it all because it's 3 or 4 pages long, and I understand this is the abbreviated one. So it's I mean, amazing. So she is uh, now executive advisor of the Bumi Sehat Foundation, and she has established 6 birthing centers, most of in Indonesia, no, I think.
Foreign
Born in
Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Fluent.
And she CNN they awarded her twice. Once in 2011 you were Hero of the Year, and then you were Superhero in 2016 or something like that. Was it 2000? Yeah. Let me just check. Anyway, there's a long list of selected honors. There's about 20 of them here. Books authored is even longer. I mean, this is quite extensive. Okay, Robin, there's no need to establish your credentials. I think most people know who you are. And um, we know each other since I think 2004. That's 22 years ago.
Mhm.
Those were wild times, I think, no? I think you once told me you refer to those days as tilting with windmills.
Yeah, yeah.
You still think that is that still going on?
Well, we all chose to be born in these times, and they're interesting to say the least. We didn't pick an easy era to light down on this planet.
Yeah, but I think you've tackled it head on. You've grabbed it by the horns.
Hmm,
I mean,
possible. I have a lot of frustration because I feel like it's like a game of snakes and ladders, that child's game where you get up the ladder and then you slide down the snake. And it feels like politically, on this planet, as a healthcare provider, as a midwife, and someone who really is trying to put up kindness and love as guardrails for how women and babies and families and daddies and how they're all treated during this incredible fulcrum where you you're bringing a human being to earth. And I find that the progress that we make just gets erased, and it happens so easily.
and so fast.
Hmm. I
I
mean,
mean,
one thing is looking good in progress as well, and then the next day something crazy happens, and it can be the smallest thing. um, right.
I think you and I are of the same generation. Like I was born in the 50s, but that when that exhilaration of the late 60s and the developments that happened, and right through to the 90s, and then suddenly here we are. What is like what a what a boom,
Mhm.
and in the healthcare, which you of course you know much more about, but the other than childbirth, also in all aspects of the healthcare now, there's so much, I just kind of call it tragedy going on. It's just tragedy that we're still doing this. We're going back to where we were, you know, post World War II almost. It's getting like that. So now, okay, focusing back on your Bumi Sehat. I mean, these 4 centers that you have running in Indonesia, you are you getting constant funding for that? Is that flowing, or is it like you get, big blocks at a time that you have to kind of parcel it out? How do you manage to keep them all going?
Well, I'm a relentless and ruthless beggar. I have no problem just telling people they need to give us money. And,
Mhm.
writing grant proposals is one thing. And if one more person tells me to write a Gates grant, I will cry because how many times do you write that same grant proposal and even get compliments from the Gates Foundation, but that they don't fund that kind of grassroots thing.
Mm.
Yet, I just spent probably 2 days online going through the process of getting a women deliver grant, and I don't know if I'll get it. Um, the online process is something very difficult for me. I guess maybe because I was born in 1956. I don't know. I find that there you. I even took a tutorial in how to write a grant proposal on this particular platform. And I finally got through the process, but I had gone through that last year with the same organization, and it told me that my grant proposal was complete and accepted.
Hmm.
And I took a screenshot of that, and a month later, and this window only opens for 30 days once a year, and you have to get pre-approved before you can apply. And 30 days later, after I thought I had done it correctly, I was told that one of my documents didn't upload properly. So I don't know how anyone can get those grants, but I work on it every day in one way or another. I would say the kindness of contributors, people who really care, um, keeps all six Bumi Sehat clinics. Some of them are just childbirth centers and reproductive health centers, and some of them, most of them, are actually community health plus plus
Which
plus.
ones? Which ones, man? No?
Bumi Sehat in Bali, which is the mothership. So
Yeah.
that office up there, the team runs all of the clinics in.
Okay, that's the central, that's the hub.
That's the hub. And we also do community health. We have physicians. We have a lab that does blood and urinalysis. We even do HIV testing. We have HIV counselor. We've added a therapist for people, especially for teens, but we're talking about for maternal health because of issues that have come up. We have acupuncture 6 days a week. We have physiotherapy every Saturday. We have prenatal yoga. We have elders programs. We have so many things that we do. Plus, we have a youth education center to try to give young people in this changing time a leg up in the world. Young people from the villages, if they don't have computer skills or some foreign language skills,
Mm,
they're not going to get a very good job. And so our hope is to give them a fishing pole. And
mm-hmm.
so that's probably the busiest center. In Aceh, after the tsunami, we are still open. Everybody else is closed down there. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, we have a beautiful, the Rotary in Ubud really helped to navigate to get us a Rotary Global grant. So we built a
Oh,
clinic.
good,
Yeah,
good. I
that
was
was
just going to say, I mean, it sounded like, sorry to cut in. I was just going, it sounded like to me like, you're having trouble with these big corporations, but in fact, in the end, most of your funding seems to come from, quote unquote, grassroots in the sense of personal. Is
absolutely,
that a correct assumption?
absolutely, absolutely. Hmm.
So you're getting much more success actually from from a sector which is not, I mean, it's in our times now, it's going to get, things are getting difficult for individuals, I mean, in terms of smaller grants, but still, I mean, it is, you've raised what, about $10 million over the last, whatever years? That's what it says on your thing anyway.
Staggering, yeah, it's staggering to think about it.
That's
Yeah,
impressive.
it's about $900,000 a year to run Bumi Sehat Bali,
Just to run it.
just to run it. Yeah, to run it. And there's so many things like you really have to pay people decently, and you really have
Of
to make
course.
you pay for their healthcare insurance and all the things that are human rights standards that we really hold to. We have to follow the laws in the countries that we're working in. We
Yeah.
really, we really do babysit that carefully. And I would say it is mostly the kindness of individuals. There are certain organizations like Earth Company out of Japan. They
Mm-hmm.
help us a lot, and
Okay.
um, and Michael Franti's group, the Soul Rockers, Soul
Mm-hmm.
they come, they bring people who come here for yoga retreats to see Bumi Sehat and tell them,
Mm-hmm.
look, you need to donate.
Okay. And I mean, it's kind of a naive question, but you get you've got a couple of awards from governments, from the Republic of Indonesia, and from the Philippines. I see. Did that come with any kind of real support, or was it just, you know,
It,
she's a
it's
good lady?
support in the way that we are open and we're doing something so special and a
Mm-hmm.
human rights model of care for people for health and education. And for example, it's been almost 2 years, no, a year and a half ago, we've got our clinic Pratama accreditation.
Oh, wow, cool.
We got the first perfect score in Indonesia. Yeah.
Well done.
Thanks,
That's
Lombok.
another feather.
Yeah. And the second perfect score in Indonesia was awarded to Bumi Sehat Lombok.
Wow.
And you would be surprised how the health authorities are nicer to you when you've gone through that process.
Okay. Yes.
They're
Yes. Obviously, yes. I mean, it's obviously beneficial. There's no question. I was just curious whether they actually, they might have anteed up or not. I don't. I mean, it's not a judgment on them, but I was just curious whether they, they would have, you know.
I've most of the funding for Bumi Sehat in Indonesia and the Philippines comes from outside
I
of
see.
the country.
Yeah.
So there may be government grants out there that I don't know about yet. We're trying to find out about them.
You should. Yes. I mean, look. I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking, well, you're not only helping these mothers. I don't know what you call them in the birthing world. Are they patients? Are they clients? What I don't know. How do you call them? What do you call the mothers who come to you for your services for the service?
We call
Mothers.
them mothers.
Mothers. Okay, fair enough. So, I mean, you're not only helping the mothers and their families and those who can't afford, good health care and so forth, but you're also helping the people you're providing a lot of, you're providing um, work for a lot of people. I mean, between Bali and Lombok and all these places. So, actually, I was curious, how many people do you actually employ altogether? How many people are employed?
We have over 70 here in Bali. We have 21, I believe, in Aceh. In Lombok, we have another 17 or 18. And in Papua, we have 17.
Okay, we're looking at like what 130 people
Yeah.
and with families, so you can add 100, 130 times say 4. Well, that's substantial. That's yeah, but what right now um, is your what are you pushing for now? What is your main goal right now, or your main, well, what is your main obstacle for that matter? What is, where are you focused on at this point in time?
Mhm.
I mean, you are actively still, helping out with births. You're still acting, but your executive advisor. I mean, you have a much, you have an overview, thing. What are you looking at right now as one of the most important things that Bumi Sehat has to go through to get to?
Well, sustainability,
Yeah.
sure. I want to make sure that the day that I, leave the planet, that Bumi Sehat still thrives. And that, you know, I mean, for the very basic in the core is making sure all of those over 100 people, 130 or so people still have employment.
Hmm.
That's important, and they still have security. But also, every single person, whether they're a doctor at Bumi Sehat or they're a housekeeper, they all share this vision.
Hmm.
It's a beautiful vision that we share, and I want to make sure that that is sustained. And one of the ways I feel like that gets sustained is the brilliant people who I work with. I mean,
Hmm.
at the you've met the people that are the
Yeah.
group.
No, you have some sterling stuff, I must say. I mean, you have very and there's a good feeling around Bumi Sahel. There's a lot of heart there. It's one notices that straight away, I must say, on all my visits, and even on my vegetable runs, because I deliver from our farm. We deliver vegetables to you
And we appreciate it.
sporadically, but I
Like
mean,
sustainability is meaning that we need to find a way to get uh, and I'm working now with a beautiful let's see, what's it called, Asian Community Fund, and we just onboarded with them.
that's
Going to work
interesting.
with them to try, hopefully, to find a way to get an endowment fund going that is well
Hmm.
managed. Because I'm not a good financial manager. I can raise money. People love to give money to Bumi Sehat through me,
Hmm.
but counting the money and making sure that every single receipt is accounted for, that is that is the bookkeepers and
I share your misery. I mean, at least you can get it in.
yeah, we just worse than me. The personal thing is like, okay.
So, I mean, look, it is important, the sustainability and the continuity and of course the succession is important. I mean, you're not. I mean, okay, so your centers help, birth 700 kids, but you've also trained thousands and thousands of midwives. I mean, what is it, 10,000 midwives you've trained over the years, and you've done important work, of course, relief work in Nepal and in Haiti after these earthquakes, in Sulawesi and Lombok. I remember all of these stories. I remember you going there, and I remember working with you on the Agong stuff. So I mean, that's all stuff that I think can only really be done if you have this very strong working, hub, which allows you to do that. And yes, succession is super important. Who is in the pipeline?
Well, I would say Eka Yuliani. She's our executive director.
Hmm.
Brilliant. Um, she's just, yeah, she's really amazing. And then the wheel of people around her. Um, yeah, the team is just good. The team is good.
Hmm.
And,
You're
and
happy with where you're at with them.
well, I pinch myself because we work well together and we work well separately. I
Hmm.
have to remind people when I see they take their laptops home and they keep working on the
Hmm.
administrative level. The midwives, for example, having WhatsApp groups for almost
Hmm.
every mother, and
Oh.
so that she can ask questions 24/7. And so those questions come by me, and I watch the answers that are coming in, both in English and in Indonesian,
Hmm.
and I just feel like the team of midwives is so brilliant, and I'm just impressed with how they really keep up on the research, how they really practice with kindness and love, and their dedication when a particular mother is in labor and she hasn't given birth yet, and a midwife is ready to go off shift. She's already worked all
Hmm.
night. I'll come in the morning and see that she's still there. And I'll say, "Oh, aren't you off shift?" "Well, I can't leave this mother."
Mm.
It's really bonded to me. Now, I
Yes,
don't know if that
dedication.
a beautiful story that I feel like is really incredible is we did have a mom who had suffered from breast cancer. She had 3 children previously, all of them breastfed, and then in the process of surviving breast cancer, she doesn't have any more breasts. She certainly
Mm.
lost her breasts, and she then got pregnant with a 4th baby, and
Wow.
was very surprised. She didn't think she would even think about getting pregnant, but she did. And she came to me, we say I had about 5 months pregnant, weeping because how could she breastfeed her child?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
Navy, Bidan Navy, midwife Navy, and midwife Karek Ari, and Dr. Dayu were all breastfeeding their babies.
Oh.
And they were all still on maternity leave, and they heard about it because we all talk. And they started pumping milk and freezing it, labeling it carefully, like morning milk is good for babies in the morning. It keeps babies up
Hmm.
at night if you give them morning
Mm.
at night. So even the time of day, and they pumped
Wow.
milk so that for the first 6 months of that baby's life, he had
Amazing.
breast milk donated.
It's
I don't
my,
think that happens
it
anywhere
shivers up
else.
my spine. No,
Yeah.
it's amazing. That's
Mhm.
dedication. See, that actually is that that goes perfectly into my and then the question I wanted to ask is like, okay, so you've got this compared to what you had before, you have this fancy new building. I mean, it's not super, super fancy, but it is a substantial advance from where you were before. You have the room and the equipment and so forth. You've got better equipment. It's a good little birthing center. I mean, right now. What I wanted to ask you is, aside from that, and it ties into what you're talking about, has your staff really improved substantially since like 2000? Okay, let's not say 2004, but let's say 2010, just before you got your CNN thing. I mean, yes, equipment is important, but and I don't know what it's like in birthing, but in my business, equipment is important, but it's the people, whether it's printing or whatever. Sorry to self-reference, but I just really have that question. You talk to me, often we have conversations about what equipment you have and so forth, but have your personnel, your staff, have they really gone up, like, substantially as well in quality? They're learning as, I'm sure they're learning from you. So what is your assessment of that?
Well, one of the things that happens at Bumi Sehat that I don't know if it happens at other places, but our midwives get recertified in neonatal resuscitation every year.
Oh, okay.
That's excellent. I and they do ultrasound training so that
Mm-hmm.
there's just not an ultrasound machine sitting there with someone who doesn't know what they're doing.
Mm.
Dr. Dayu is particularly brilliant. Dr. Ayu's also got those skills. I just see, like, we just recently got from the Rotary. That was amazing. We got things like an EKG, very simple
Mm-hmm.
machine, but very, very good diagnostic tool. And uh, all of our doctors and our nurses got certified in how to use it properly.
Okay.
And we saw during COVID how the whole world was on this stormy sea in their own individual boats, and
Mm-hmm.
our healthcare facilities were busier than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we have, what is it, like something like 80% unemployment in Bali because all of tourism shut down.
Yes, yes, yes.
There were no hotels or restaurants open, and people were hungry. And I saw how the team just kicked right into finding ways. I got into fundraising and finding ways to bring food to people. So
Mm-hmm.
village by village, every 2 weeks, about 200 families or more got sembako, which is basic groceries, through us. And then the farmers found out about it and they started dropping off, like,
Mm-hmm.
giant loads of vegetables wrapped for families. They would wrap them in banana leaf and
Mm-hmm.
and drop them off in packets so that we could give them to people. And
Amazing community.
it's amazing. It's amazing. And I think it's the one place in Bali where I really see that people that are Indonesian and people that are non-Indonesian come together in a beautiful way. There's
Mm-hmm.
uh, a, a child therapist called Robin Grill who's written some beautiful books out of Australia. And he came to Bali and he was really interested in what was going on here and he wanted to give a presentation. And our head of education, Trista Mona Lisa, she heard he was here and she had a pop-up. Families could come and ask questions of this particular well-known Australian child therapist. And over 50 Indonesian couples came, and
Oh,
probably,
wow.
yeah, and probably 10 non-Indonesian families
Mm-hmm.
did. And he was in tears because he didn't know anywhere else he could go where he could actually have some impact and some contact with Indonesian people. There's, I would say, probably one of the things that hurts my heart is that there's so much separation between what they call the expat community in Bali,
Mm-hmm.
the real people that
Yes.
have been here. When I hear that people are going to build a conscious community in Bali and they're selling real estate here, I think, my goodness, every Banjar is a conscious community. What are they talking about? It's,
Wow.
what are they doing here?
Yeah, no, it's a bit bizarre. I mean, I anyway, I really don't want to get into it because if you get me started on that, I'll be talking and you won't. I guess that really it's something which it gets to me too. And I mean, listen, coming back to these certifications, I'm looking at your certifications here, and you've got all these, American, well, CPM, North American, blah 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 blah, helping babies breathe, mother survive, ultrasound. So you're actually getting all your doulas, your midwives, and your doctors to do these as well. These,
Yes, yes. I
okay.
mean, my main certification as a midwife is out of the United States, but here we have our own certifications in India,
Mm-hmm.
and all of them are kept current. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Whenever there's a workshop, whenever there's an opportunity for more education, our midwives are on board and
Mm-hmm.
on their own time. I mean, I always try to schedule things. Like, we just had someone who's a certified American Red Cross neonatal resuscitation.
Mm-hmm.
She can license people, and she was here visiting me for 1 week. And so when Deborah Flowers was here, we scheduled it during a time when there would be at least 5 midwives on shift, and then the rest of them just came. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't during their shift, but they came, and just to get their skills to that next level. which is
Yeah.
pretty brilliant.
Well, it's an important. It's also it's one of the lesser known activities of Bumi Sehat, actually, for people not in the bit, who don't really know you. All this education going on. It's quite important. I was wondering, just to go off another tack. This is kind of a stupid question, but what percentage would you say of Balinese villagers does Bumi Sehat deal with, say, in comparison with? I know you do a lot of expats as well, and you do a lot of Balinese villagers, and of course, I also know that you give almost free services to poor villagers. Do they go through some kind of application process, or do you just take them in, or how does it work?
Well, no one should go through an application process, in my opinion, to determine whether they can pay or not,
Hmm.
because there's, I don't know, maybe just having a Filipino mother, I'm always very sensitive to make sure not to shame anybody.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so, you know,
Helps.
it, it's, if you start asking people about their finances, they just go into shame and embarrassment and the whole thing of healing is for everyone to be open and feel comfortable so that the services that they need can be delivered to them. It's a trust thing.
Hmm.
We get wealthy families that come from Jakarta, and
Hmm.
you know what, they when they have an experience at Bumisaya, like having their baby, or they get their child, they're here from Jakarta on vacation, their child gets bit by a monkey in monkey forest, and our nurse yoga is able to find immediately the rabies vaccine, whereas they'd already called several clinics
Hmm.
and hospitals, and they were told that there was no supply. So whenever they have a good experience at Bumisehat, they tend to donate generously. And an example is when the Ukraine war broke out.
Hmm.
Um, we have found that probably every month, if not more than once a month, we'll have a family who's put their money together in Ukraine and shipped over their pregnant daughter and son-in-law because
Hmm.
the apartment building was bombed into the Stone
Yeah,
Age.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm married to the Ukrainian.
They, and they expect Bali to be a lot less expensive than it is, and then they come to us and they don't have money, and
Mhm.
because they're white people, they sort of feel like they should pay. And we reassure them that we're here for everyone. We're here for everyone. And the wealthy people that do have money are going to come and subsidize the poor, we hope. And so far, it's been an experiment in love and kindness, and it seems to be working out. But we had a couple from Ukraine come, and years later, in the beginning of the war, they were here. They had their baby. Years later, they started to donate, I don't know, 16 or 20 juta. It was different every month.
Wow.
And I said, "You guys are really donating a lot." And the young father said, "Yeah, well, I started to earn really, really good money. And I want to pass that back to Bumi Sehat because our daughter was born there and we had nothing. We had nothing when we came to you. And and now we have the young people who have grown up that were born into the hands of Bumi Sehat midwives are growing up and having their children now. So I do believe there's a certain sustainability just in this kind of a team spirit. Bumi Sehat, I got a Bumi Sehat t-shirt on. uh, it's yeah, there's the love translates into support, I will say.
Yeah, and these are long-term relationships. I mean,
Yes, it
that
is.
does help a lot with the succession, in fact, I think.
And we have had people who you know reportedly or allegedly very wealthy people, because we don't know, come and have their babies at Bumi Sehat, and they're not Indonesians, and then say that they don't really feel they should have to donate because we help the poor for free and it wouldn't be fair. And to me, that's a spiritual problem. And that's out of my scope of practice. If you have a spiritual problem, you got to talk to someone, I don't know,
Well,
talk to,
you know
talk
this,
to a Buddhist
you
or
know
something.
this. There's this Balinese expression, "Isin bumi," the contents of the earth. There's just everything. There's all kinds. I guess you'd say in English, it takes all kinds.
Yeah.
That
But for
is curious, though.
the most part, day and night, the things that are happening at Bumisehat inspire me and give me hope for humanity.
Mm. It is a very inspiring place. I must say the atmosphere in your place there. You know, I mean, I don't deliver vegetables all the time, but I kind of like rocking up with my bags of whatever and checking out what's going on. And the staff always, oh, put it over there. Oh, great. I mean, and it's always so light, and I never come in there and find people like sulking or pretending that they can't look up from their computer or whatever. It's a good atmosphere, and I think that's something which is it's quite extraordinary. I don't I'm not going to go on to a whole rave about spiritual, but for me that's the kind of thing that really counts. People can build their conscious communities, but it's the doing that counts.
Yeah,
Um,
we often will say, see the job, do the job, just do it. And
okay.
yeah. And I really love how, for example, our HR person, Ibu Jenny Maria, she's actually from Malang.
Okay.
And she just brilliantly puts together these yearly things where we split the team in two because we can never all go on the same day because we have to keep the clinic open.
Yeah, exactly.
This clinic, all of our clinics are open 24/7 in both countries.
Wow.
24/7. We never close. And one time someone came to us we'd never seen before, and they were in labor, and they had gone to a Puskesmas in their village in Karangasam, and it was closed. And the sign on the door said, "Go to Bumi Sehat if you're in labor."
Well, you've made it.
That was like a wow, we made it, right? And they came and they had a beautiful experience, and they're really happy.
Mhm.
And they did send their daughter in love back when she was having her baby. So many
Great.
years later, we recently had there was a tragedy with a mother who has mental health issues, obviously,
Hmm.
and she gave birth in the Sawa by herself.
Oh God.
It was her third baby. Her first baby, I'm not sure where it was. I think it was a hospital birth, and the second baby was born in Bumisehat, and she was really happy, and she's really a good woman who loves her children. And she got abandoned by her husband during this third
Uh,
pregnancy, and she thought she lost the baby, and she was really convinced. And the children were with her parents and his parents, and she was on her own, living in a cost somewhere, trying to struggle to eat. And she gave birth and she left her baby in the Sawa. And when she realized that she might bleed to death, she somehow got on a motorcycle and got to Bumisehat. And our midwives saved her life. They saved her life. And that was probably at about 6 a.m. And about 8 a.m., I rock up to the clinic, and there's plainclothes policemen standing there. And they're waving to me saying, Ibu Robin, hey, hey, how are you? We'd wondered if we'd see you here today. I'm like, wait, you guys are cops. Where are your uniforms? And I know them because they had their children.
hmm
Their children were with us. And one of them said, yeah, my daughter's 17 now. The other one said, my son's 22 years old. And, they still, when they see Boomy Scout stickers on a motorcycle, when they're doing a dragnet, they'll kind of let those guys go. And,
I
and they
must get
explained,
some.
yeah. And they explained to me that this baby had been found by someone and brought to the hospital, and he was okay. He was going to make it. He was fine. And that they were concerned about the mother, and then they couldn't figure out where they could find this mother. But then they thought, oh, if someone is in trouble, maybe they're bleeding after childbirth, maybe they would go to Bumi Sehat. And sure enough, that's where they found her.
Mm,
I've reunited her with her family and gotten her help that she needs. She's in therapy, and I'm
mm,
not sure where the baby will end up, whether she'll keep the baby or adopt the baby away to a family
mhm,
member or something. But the kindness and the care, and she stayed with us for 3 days and 3 nights. And the police had two police people on site at Bumi Sehat during all that time, having lunch with us, hanging out.
mhm,
I sent them off the site. They have to go off site to smoke. They can't smoke
mhm,
in anywhere near the clinic. So yeah, and I just saw that kind of community kindness when someone has an unbelievable tragedy. And I feel like May was all about that. People who were abandoned and had tragedies, and they would come into Bumisayat for help. We had a teenager from Sumba who was pregnant,
Hmm.
And yeah, that was rough. That was rough. And we had another mother who had lost her baby, and the baby hadn't been born yet. She was 20 weeks along. The baby had
Hmm.
died, and she had been
Hmm.
abandoned, and she had a 2-year-old in tow, and they had no food. So the first order of business was to feed them, and the second was we got her BPJS so that she could be. She also had her baby died because she had syphilis, and
Oh,
so and then when her baby was finally born, who had died before birth, when her baby was finally born in the hospital in Gianyar, um, we worked out a way to get her home to Java so that she could properly bury her baby. And so, I mean, I don't know. She did not have even small change when she came into the clinic. And, we can't restore her baby's life or help her with that grief, but we can
mm,
solve some of the problems.
yeah,
Giving her enough money to get through the next 2 weeks with food. And I know that our donors are happy for us to,
yeah.
you know,
Can I, before we wrap up, I just would like to talk to you a little bit about, your experiences in the disaster areas. Aceh, of course, which I know more about, and Philippines. You sent pictures and stuff to us, and we saw those. But I'm just curious about what, I think, what was the first one you did? Probably was Haiti. Was that
no,
Aceh was before. Oh, that's right. Aceh was before. I'm sorry.
it's
Um,
2004, we were the
2005. It was 2005. Yes, you're absolutely right. It was just after Christmas.
26. And
Yeah,
by just after
yeah.
the new year, we were there on the ground.
So, that was, I guess, your first full-scale immersion into disaster area. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, what you then went on, you did Haiti, and then there's Nepal, and then there was Lombok. What did you learn progressively, and each new one? What were the things that you learned from those first experiences, which helped and you could apply and made a big difference in the subsequent ones in the disaster areas? I'm asking, from a personal point of view also, because I did a little bit of relief work, but I'm just curious to know from your perspective as a midwife and having to deal with medical supplies, et cetera, how you pull all those things together in those situations, and what
Mhm.
you learned and how to pull them together.
Well, Aceh was the big one in terms of cutting your teeth on a disaster project.
Mm,
Get any bigger than that.
yeah,
And
that's
and
true.
and the love that was, when we found survivors, it's like the first order of business was to find who locally is still functioning in any way.
Hmm.
Find the Rotary Fathers because those guys have four-wheel drive vehicles.
Hmm.
The four-wheel drive vehicle clubs because they can get
Hmm.
into places where no one can get in, and they want to help. And
Hmm.
if you go in there and like a monkey trying to put fish up in trees, you're not going to be doing any good.
That's an interesting. I haven't heard that one. I'm going to try and figure out what that means. A monkey putting fish up in trees, but it's interesting that, yeah,
Those are
relying on local
local. Local. Um,
support.
yeah, so language is important, speaking the
Yes.
language. And for example, in the Philippines, after the giant typhoon in 2013, um, the people there don't speak Tagalog, they speak Ware-Ware.
Uh-huh.
Interestingly enough, is closer to Indonesian than I
Then
thought,
Tagalog.
than
Wow.
Tagalog. So, but oh
Ah,
my goodness, it was, and we had 100% homeless patients. I mean,
yeah.
we went
Everything
there
was flat.
as kids. It was flattened. It was flattened, and there were, just like in Aceh and in many disasters, there were as many dead people as living people, and yeah,
Mm,
and then trying to and water being super important. Go and find places where there are those kind of pump wells. There's a
mm-hmm,
few of them out there. Those were
mm,
old Rotary projects in the 80s, and they put those
mm-hmm,
in schools all over the Philippines. So if you could find a hand pump that wasn't dependent on any electricity at all, that was important. Water filters. I mean, if there's one thing I could bring, well, medication for diarrhea and water filters.
Hmm. But that's interesting, relying on the local, the what's there locally, rather than waiting for the big airdrop or whatever. I think
Mhm.
that's a very interesting thing to learn. I mean, I felt that very much. I didn't go to Sulawesi, but I felt that very much with the Agong thing and other stuff. And I also heard from friends who did go to Sulawesi that it was you know people come in from the outside, and if they're not really tuned to what's going on inside, they become an extra burden on the situation. I mean,
Exactly.
it's one of the reasons I didn't go to Nepal, or it's one of the reasons I didn't go to Sulawesi, because I didn't know enough about Palu. And somebody said, "Why aren't you going?" I said, "I don't want to be the guy camping out looking for a toilet, because I need a toilet. I mean, I'm only going to go there if I know my way around. You know."
Well, one of the things we have is a really good relationship with Direct Relief International. They
Mhm.
paid for the construction of the clinic in Lombok, which,
Mhm.
it has been sustained from the Lombok earthquake in 2018 until now. They're a strong team, beautiful,
Mhm.
right there in the Gunung Sari area where there's Muslim people, Christian people, and Hindu people all living together in harmony. So for me, it's a very exciting project in Lombok. But Direct Relief International will contact me and say, we need someone who knows how to do birth where there's no hospital,
Mhm.
where everything is destroyed. And that, could, because they help fund. And then from there, I would say going in, like you said, it's better usually not to go in unless you're invited. In Palu, we were invited
Yes,
by,
that's exactly what I meant. Is that if you're not from the place, you don't know the way around, you better not end up being, you
Mhm.
know. I mean, I've heard of people going in, wanting to do good work and blah blah blah, and they're looking for a hotel, you know.
Oh, well, trust me.
It's like, um, in during the Agung thing, one of the interesting things that I felt, one of the useful things that I was involved with, besides running around setting up camps, was working with the East Bali Poverty Project. When we were trying to figure out, housing, and I sat down with David Booth, who runs the East Bali Poverty Project, and we had a meeting, and we sat there. Well, we worked on some designs. Oh, we should do something we can do with bamboo and blah blah. And it was getting all kind of oh, we need this, complicated, and doing this thing. And suddenly we just looked at each other, and at the same moment said, well, these guys work with bamboo all the time, and for them to build an A-frame is going to be like a day's work, you know. And we figured out how to build, these just simple basic A-frames with whatever space that they would need, and that could be put up on whatever's remaining of platforms, or they could be put up on the ground. And we built, I don't know, a few, maybe 100 or 200 of these things. And some of them people just kept using because, suddenly they had another room, and it was such a simple thing, and everything was available. They had the bamboo, they knew how to work bamboo, and all we needed to get was the roofing, which wasn't a big deal, just, and it was this crazy sort of meeting with, we're kind of struggling with this thing for about 45 minutes. How are we going to do this? And we do that. And how are we going to get this architect to come in? And we had some design for some architects. And we just suddenly looked at each other, this is just too complicated. Let's just get these guys to build an A-frame. And boom, and then for them it was so easy. They could even put in, doors and it was just such a revelation that, you come to help people, but actually the best thing you can do is help people help themselves, you know,
Absolutely.
which,
And that goes back to our first, when we first got asked to go into to Aceh, and
mhm,
and it was really early days. It was everyone was still soaking wet pretty much,
mhm,
and the guys from Walhi working with EDIP Foundation,
mhm, mhm, mhm.
they were brilliant, and they were like a bunch of cowboys, a bunch of
They're
Indonesian
pretty smart.
in there. Yeah, and it's like cowboys on motorcycles, and they could scavenge supplies, and they could help people help themselves. And I think the family bucket, And we've used this. We ended up
That
with,
was a very clever. I think who it was Odek or he organized a bunch of those as well. But the
yeah.
whole family bucket thing, and we shipped off trucks, or he shipped off, I guess, trucks and trucks up to. That was brilliant.
And we did it in the Philippines, and
Yeah.
it was brilliant. And then we shipped them on, in the Visayas. There's a gazillion little islands there, and there's boats, and you can
Hmm.
ship them. And then you go in the Philippines, you just contact the most back in the country Catholic priest, like that got affected, and he'll go out and rent a giant truck and look someone in the eye and say, "Oh, we wouldn't take this to the disaster zone," and then you truck them in. And you're
Mm.
going, oh my gosh, Father Ned just told them that he wasn't going to take their truck to the disaster zone, and we've just loaded up 500 family buckets. But where do you find, a 500 at a time? Because we would do 500 at a time. And where do you find machetes? Like,
Yeah. No, I
both.
mean this was the thing. I remember when Odak was I mean I helped him a little bit, but he was organizing this stuff, and I mean then he takes off with the trucks and gets to Padang and he gets boats, and they went up in these boats along which was a simple idea. You just go along the shore and there's a village totally destroyed. Somebody standing there, you stop. And I thought that was quite a clever, a very clever idea actually.
It was more than clever. It was brilliant. And to have in that bucket, just a tarp so that
Well,
people
a
can get out of the rain,
tarp, a little water pump,
filter.
hygiene stuff, medication, a
Yeah.
little comb pour. You could cook something with you. I mean, it's like people had nothing. I mean, look, I finally went to Aceh in 2005 to do a little assignment there for Save the Children. And I was really struck at how much still remained of the destruction. This is, no, I went up in 2010. Sorry, not 2005, but 2010. 5 years later, it was a 5-year assessment, and went around. And I'm talking to orphans. I'm talking to people who like, it was quite an intense trip. But what I did notice was you know, there was just this. It was two things. One, you discovered insane corruption. And at the other time, thing you discovered amazing, loving kindness and care from communities. And I found that really, I found it was very, it was almost black and white. You could see that. And what they were facing, and this last flood where all that timber came down, that actually destroyed more land, farmland, and displaced more people than the Aceh community. And um, yeah, I understand the idea of self-help, but I was kind of pissed off that they wouldn't allow foreign aid in because you can actually, if you're smart, channel that in a good way. And that bucket story reminded me of that.
Right, right. And the foreign aid, I mean, Direct Relief International helping us to pay for 1,000 family buckets.
Yeah,
And yeah, just they were brilliant again, because people can take the remains of whatever shack they had that fell down in an earthquake. And with that family bucket, they can make something so that their family can at least get out of the rain and
yeah,
catch water off that tarp and then filter it and drink it.
exactly.
And
Yeah, the
just
water filter, that was another brilliant thing.
water filter and the little solar light.
Yeah,
The little solar
yeah.
light.
No,
In,
it
Lo-
was,
in Lombok, whenever we'd have an aftershock, you would hear, because we were right there in the camps with the people, and you would hear people in whatever little tarp or whatever shelter they were in, and all camped together in fields, and you would hear people start to have trouble breathing, like
yeah,
because they would go into panic, and
yeah.
so those little nebulae, those little, what are they, albuterol, the little
Yeah,
Ventolin,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Nebulizers or whatever they're called. Yeah.
little tiny hand ones that are just instant. They deliver
What are they
albuterol.
called? I can't remember what they're called. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I keep one in my backpack. And
Hmm.
I was at temple a few years ago, and somebody fell down not breathing, and we shot him with that. Done. Done. And she was
Yeah.
fine. And
Right.
so I find that there's just certain things, like now it's hard for me to go anywhere without a bag of diarrhea medication and bandages, and a little bottle of betadine to clean people up, because you just never know when something's going to happen. And because our Earth's crust is so much warmer and so on the move, disasters are more frequent, and they're bigger. And I'm still waiting to hear from Direct Relief International about this recent earthquake in the Philippines, the 7.8.
Oh
Um,
God.
we
Yeah.
do have friends in Mindanao, in General Santos City, that were affected, and so we're just waiting to see what kind of aid needs to go that direction, and our people in the Philippines, if they need a midwifery unit somewhere where they can be best,
Yeah.
we'll move one out there.
I mean, here in Bali, I mean, it's a relatively, relatively wealthy island for Indonesia, you know.
Mhm.
You know me, I ride around all the time. I still ride around. And, I can't think of one stretch of, let's say, 50, max 100 kilometers where there's no road damage. I mean, I
Mhm.
right up from my house, there's a road that goes up the side of this ravine, and that's partially collapsed. And it's been like that for several months. The
Mhm.
bridge to my place was down for almost a year until I finally got fed up. I swallowed my pride and I called up Nilo Gelanting. I said, hey, Nilo, give us a hand here, And she, bah, she did it. I mean, she shamed the whole Gyanyar government, and I had to laugh because 3 days later there's these guys, measuring the measuring the gap and doing all this stuff because we had to go around. But what that does to the economy, the economics of people living behind that. I mean, it adds like, what, 5 kilometers or, half an hour to their daily trip, et cetera, et cetera. And now, that road doesn't show there's no sign of anybody fixing it up because, there's nobody who's pushing for it, I guess. Maybe I should do something about it. But, it's just, that's part of this formula. Like when infrastructure breaks down, everything starts to break down,
Mhm.
because you can't get stuff in, you can't get stuff out. Anyway, I'm blabbering on. I have one important request from you is if you could send me details of where people can send funds.
Oh, yes. Details for donation. That's
Details for
easy.
donations, please, and I'll post that at the end of this podcast. And
Thank
no, I mean it's what else? And any other thing that, like, if you want, I'm not sure about used clothing or stuff like that, but there might be things where people might, I don't know, just give me a little blurb what people can do to help.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And a thing that isn't really helpful is so many people from foreign countries want to come here and volunteer. And they want to volunteer as medical professionals. And we have fantastic medical professionals here.
Hmm.
Don't need that, and actually we can't legally let people do
Yes,
patient
that's
care
the other thing.
in Indonesia. And fair enough, you know. Anyway, so that is not helpful. But your airfare, instead of flying here to help, sending the airfare is
Or, stay in a cheaper hotel and make up the difference by donating. Okay, listen, Robin, thank you so much for your time. And I know you're super busy and you're probably going to run off to 3 different births today and do all that stuff. I am really grateful for the time you gave me and to give to us, all of us who will listen to this. So, once again, terima kasih. Thank you so much.
I do.
And don't forget to send me the details.
I will do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye
Okay.
now.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
I was like,
Hey,
turn this off.
bye.
Bye.